So let's think about when a woman is pregnant, when she's getting ready to give birth. Okay. What happens? So when she first starts having contractions, when she first goes into labor, her contractions, there's a lot of time in between the contractions, right? And they're not very strong yet. But as she goes further and further and gets closer to her fullness of time, those contractions get bigger, they get faster and faster and faster, and they start to get stronger and more painful. So that's why we think that what Jesus meant when he is talking about using this metaphor of a pregnant woman in labor pains for the end times, that these bad things happening are going to get more and more, they're going to increase, they're going to get more and more severe, they're going to happen more and more often. So that's why we see all these people looking around at all the stuff that they see happen in the world, and everybody's saying, the end of the world is coming, that we are in the end times, Jesus is coming any moment now. So when I hear people say that, here's what I think. I think, really, you look around at the world and you think that this is the worst it's ever been. That's my response. That's how I think. Because I mean, for example, look at this. This is this room that I'm sitting in. This is our guest bedroom in our house, and then we've kind of refixed it to be the media and music room. So look at this. Look at this. This is how most of us live. We have these nice houses. We have running water. We have electricity. We have so much stuff. We live luxurious lives compared to how a lot of people in the rest of the world live, how most people in the whole history of humankind had lived. We live like kings. So is it really is this the worst it's ever been? I know that in our short little lifetimes, it might be the worst that we've ever seen. Okay. But is it the worst that it's ever been in the whole human timeline? Is it as bad as it was for the early Christians when they were being rounded up and given to the lions to be eaten alive, or when they were skewered and burned alive to light up Nero's dinner parties? Is it as bad as that? Is it as bad as things were in World War I, World War II, the Holocaust? What about the Dark Ages when these plagues came in and decimated entire populations? So when I look around at the world, I do not think this is the worst it's ever been by far. By far. I don't. So how could I say that I think that this is the end times and that Jesus is coming back soon? Let me show you, because I think there's something that is much, much more compelling evidence that we are in the end times than just all of these earthquakes and flooding and, wars and rumors of wars happening. So I started talking about this last week, so let's get into it a little bit more. So we saw in the Bible just a minute ago that Paul describes when Jesus came the first time as fullness of time. It was a fullness of time event, okay? And then he describes this next fullness of time event is going to be what I believe when Jesus comes back, okay? But when Jesus came the first time, it was not the first fullness of time event that happened in our human timeline. The first fullness of time event that happened in our human timeline was creation. That was creation, when God created the heavens and the earth, and he created Adam and Eve, okay? And when was that? That was about 4,000 BC. Give or take a few years, about 6,000 years ago, all right? When was the next fullness of time event? Well, I argue that it was when God reached out to Abraham, and he made a covenant with Abraham and drew Abraham into a relationship with him. And he said, I'm going to bless all of your descendants. You're going to be my chosen people. And that happened. When did that happen? 2,000 years later, after God created the heavens and the earth. About 4,000 years ago. And then 2,000 years after that, Jesus came. We know that's a fullness of time event because that's what Paul says. So where are we now? We are 2,000 years after Jesus came. This, I believe, I don't think you need all the rumors of wars and all that stuff. And I'm going to talk about that more in the next couple of weeks. This is my evidence. This is why I think that we are there. We are so there. And Jesus is going to come back very soon in some form. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet. We won't know until it happens. But this is why I believe it. And so what is this going to look like? What is this going to look like? And so we don't know, but let me tell you what I do know. If God follows the pattern he's been following, okay, so here, let me back up a little bit. I skipped a part here. So we see in the Bible that over and over again that God works in patterns, okay? And so this is a huge pattern. It's a huge pattern, and this is why I believe that Jesus is coming soon, because since God first created Adam and Eve, every 2,000 years, there is a fullness of time event, okay? So what is that going to look like this next time? We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but if God follows his pattern, it's going to involve a new covenant, because every single time that this fullness of time event happened, it involved God making a covenant with human beings, okay? So when he created Adam and Eve, he made a covenant with Adam and Eve. He gave them the earth. He gave them dominion over the earth. He told them to rule the earth and to be fruitful and multiply and populate the earth. He gave them free will. This was his covenant that he made with Adam and Eve. Now they gave it away. They messed it up. And so then God tried again 2,000 years later when he reached out to Abraham and made a covenant with Abraham, selected him and his descendants as his chosen people. Every time God makes a covenant with human beings, it is an offer of relationship. He is attempting to draw us into relationship with him. He's done this over and over and over again. And the last time he did it was with Jesus Christ, which happened 2,000 years later. And so Jesus Christ, of course, is the new covenant, and it is through his blood and his sacrifice on the cross that we are able to finally come into total relationship, eternal relationship with God and with Jesus Christ, because he fulfilled the law that was set up in the previous 2,000 years during the Abraham time. So this is the time that we are in right now, during this covenant through the blood of Jesus Christ. And I believe that very, very soon in our lifetimes, we are going to see the next stage, the next fullness of time event. So, wow, I just think that's very exciting.